is Lady Lex UK, and this is a Dreams tutorial. I've been asked, could I create a special type of collectible that will modify health? Normally this is used for a health pickup, but you could also use this for a collectible where if you pick it up, it also reduces your health. Since I worked on this tutorial, I've discovered actually that this is a really great method for actually creating any sort of collectible logic. It's very simple and it doesn't involve your puppet at all, so you don't need trigger zones or transmitters or anything like that. It is actually a really simple way of creating any sort of collectible logic for collecting anything. So it's actually been quite an eye-opener. Right. When you do collectibles, we use variables and things. The health of a puppet is governed by a health manager and a health modifier. So if I open up the logic, there we go. I've opened up the controller logic, and here is our health manager. This is set normally to 100 for your health. You can change this dynamically during the game so that the maximum health can go up to beyond 100. Things like special weapons and things like that can do things like that. But let's not worry about that for this tutorial. I don't want to make it too complicated. Let's just say the current health is wired into our number displayer, and this is the only change that I've made to the puppet so that we can see the health going down. I've just popped that in scene, facing the camera with a allow rotation, and just put it above his head. If you're interested in having a bar, then there is instructions on how to make one of those in my health manager and health modifier gadget tutorial. So check the playlists, look for the gadget tutorials, and you'll find it there. They're color coded, so look for the pink ones and you'll find health manager in amongst those. Right, let's close this off because we don't actually need to do anything with our puppet. Now over here we have a health modifier, loose in the world, and what this is going to do is it's going to act as a health reduction area, so that I can walk into there and artificially reduce my health so that I can see if my pickup is working. So what I've done here is I've just put a health modifier down, made a zone around this circle, and I've stuck it to continuous and zone, and I've got a -10 in here. Now this number here represents per frame situation. So if I hover over continuous, it actually gives you a mathematical formula. Here we go. So it's a percentage representing the overall damage per second divided by 30. So a modifier amount of -30 will result in damage of -1 per frame. So if we change this to -30, then we're going to get damage of 1 point per frame. That's how they've done it. So there we go. So that's what that is going to do, and let's just demonstrate that. So this is how you'd create that's actually really, really fast, and it's going to kill our man. So I don't think I want 1 per frame. That's a little bit mad. I think I'll stick with the -10 that I had before. That's okay. Right, okay, so we've got our area that's going to destroy our puppet's health. Now we need to make our health pickup. So I'm going to need a microchip, and then we're going to stamp that on. So it's L1, hover it over there, stamp it on, so that's attached to our first aid kit. Right, then L1 square, open up my microchip. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it obvious that it is a collectible by making it rotate. So I'm going to stick a rotator on, and I'm going to put grid snap on, select my rotator, and then just pop it up like that so we get it directly straight. Turn the grid snap off. There we go, that's done. Now I'm going to add my modifier. And we're going to set it this time to per hit. So we want this to increase, not decrease. So we're going to put this in as 10. So it's going to give us 10 health points per hit. And then we're going to change this to zone. Now, you might think impact would be the one to pick. So as he walks into it, it does it. But I find that depending on where your microchip is and how big your object is or small your object is, it can be a bit glitchy, and the player's legs can go all in weird directions and stuff. You don't really want that. So I'm going to choose zone. Now the zone it gives you is huge. We want to reduce that. So I'm going to grab it with R2 and then down with the D-pad to shrink it down to the size, rough size of my first aid kit. There we go. That's about right. Right, so we're going to have per hit and zone. So as soon as the player hits the zone, it's just going to add 10 immediately to it. Now I'm going to go to the last page, and here we have something called currently modifying, and we're going to use that to indicate that we've modified the health. So we're going to use that to activate our destroyer. So there we go. We'll wire that into the power on our destroyer. And I'm also going to put in a sound effect. So I'm going to sound mode, sound effects. I've already searched for these. I'm just going to put a popping sound inside. And I'm going to wire that into the power of my popping sound. There we go. So this is going to work really well. Now, if you want to use this as a collectible as well, you might want to have a variable that counts. So I'm going to put a variable in the world. I'm going to wire it to a number displayer so we can see the count. And I'm going to call this variable kits. So I'm going to count how many kits I've actually picked up. And I'm going to put a variable modifier, and we're going to wire that from the same place here, whoops, into the power, and then we're going to go plus 1 because it's counting how many kits I've picked up. Name of variable kits. Always name your variable first. And then you can use the D-pad to go down and choose it. That way you're not worried about typing in the wrong name. Right, so there we go. So now I'm going to play mode. I've not got any kits. I'm going to go into the zone. I'm going to reduce my health down a bit. 68. Walk up to my first aid kit. I've now got 78, and that count has gone up to 1. So there we go. So now let's just close down that. Close down that. Right, we can copy this as many times as we like. Put a few down. Like so. There they all are. So I can reduce my health down. Alright, and then we can go pop. Pop, 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 pop. Now, let's see what happens when I pick up the next one. I've already got my maximum. It doesn't add 10. It's got to the maximum, so you don't get 110 because we've already hit our maximum. And there we go. Now, as you notice, that worked really well for making the collectible. So if you wanted to use this code just as your collectible code, so you don't have to do anything in the puppet, just make that 0. So it's not modifying the health at all, but it's activating all of this collectible stuff, and that is a really simple way of doing some collectible code. No need for any sort of wires or anything else, and that's it done. And you can copy that as much as you like, and there's nothing in the puppet that you need to affect at all. It's really quite handy. Obviously, make sure your variable, if you're counting these things, is not in your puppet, and it's not in the object that's going to be destroyed, because obviously you'll destroy it, and when the puppet dies and respawns, it resets your variables, so you don't want to do that. So there we go. There is collectible health. Obviously, this number here can be a minus number, so you can have it so that the health goes up or down. But most of the time, you're going to be a health pickup, I think. Thanks for watching. Hope that was useful, and I'll catch you in your dreams.